here is really where I discovered the whole generative AI things. Open source, great. If it's not, then I'll pay for it as long as it's something that I really want to use, right? I try to find the balance between what is work and what is something that I also enjoy, because if it just becomes just work and I don't enjoy it, then I won't be happy doing that for very long. To me, I rather do this than any other job. Like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I wanted to like rap too. So
Well,
that was like a desire that I had. All the stuff that I've learned so far with video, and apply that knowledge and use that with AI. Once I was done with school, I was like, that wasn't worth it. Like, the money I spent on it. Definitely comfy UI is a big thing that I use. Like, when it comes to the AI community, I feel like when I'm using those tools, I feel like I'm cheating. A year and a half ago, we had a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti that just looked horrendous, and now we have video that looks like it's really him.
it's just scary how good the things are getting in the video quality. Everything's
Yeah.
just amazing, the things that we're seeing in such a short amount of time.
We really don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. We don't know how much AI is going to advance. I'm always hopeful that that AI will always need direction.
Welcome to Intelliverse. I'm Heather Cooper, and today I'm here with an exciting guest. His name is Eric Solorio, otherwise known as Enigmatic E or Eric E. And we just call him all those things. But Eric is an amazing creative content creator, and he has extensive experience in videography, video editing, motion graphics, VFX, and AI animation. And he has produced a lot of amazing content for corporate clients, social media, TV commercials. And he has a huge YouTube channel with over 35,000 subscribers right now. So it's a pleasure. I just want to talk to you about your background, what got you into this, and what you're doing now, and how do you use generative AI tools and with your workflow. So welcome to the show, Eric.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I hope that was correct, the intro. But
Yeah, no,
do you,
that's perfect.
well, thank you. I wanted to ask you, you have a degree in digital audio technology. Like,
Yes.
what led you to that? In childhood or when you were a kid? Did you do things with music, recording, sound?
There was like a phase in my life when I was like in my I would say like my early 20s, mid 20s, where I was just like getting into music. I wanted to learn how to produce music, mix and master music. Um, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I wanted to like rap too. So
Well,
that was like a desire that I had. Yeah, it's kind of like I kind of cringe at that now, but at the time I thought it's something that I was really um, passionate about. But yeah, so I decided to go to school because I wanted to, learn how to mix and master music, and just something that had to do with audio, just because at the time that was what I had a big interest in. And yeah, so I went to school there for 4 years. I went to a school in California. Um, but once I was getting to like once I was a senior, I had a class where we had to talk about what path we're going to take, right? And uh, what I came to a realization there that I may not want to pursue audio as much as I thought, just because a lot of us in that classroom were, our assignment was to decide, okay, what path are you going to take? What are you going to try to pursue after you're done with college? And a lot of people were saying like, hey, I want to be an instructor, I want to do this, I want to compose music. And then we were told like, okay, well, do research on that and see uh what's out there and those for those things that you're trying to pursue. And a lot of us were disappointed to find out that there wasn't as many opportunities as we thought, or at least as there used to be, because the music industry started to shift and change, because like everything was becoming more compact, and studios were closing down, like recording studios were closing down. There wasn't as many anymore. People were recording their laptops and stuff. So I had to like pivot and um, follow another thing that I was really also interested in, and that's video, editing video, shooting video. Like I've always kind of been this person who had like these ideas in my mind, and since I was a kid, I had like a camera that my mom bought me, and I would just pretend like I'm recording movies and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where it started for me with just leading up to the whole AI thing, because I was like I was already into video, and I was after college I decided to pursue that as a career. So I was doing a lot of freelance work, doing videography for like corporate companies, like doing like commercials and stuff like that, like you mentioned earlier, and weddings. I was doing weddings and just wherever I can find work, pretty much. And that was going really well for me until I moved to Germany, and because I married my wife, who was a German, and she wanted to stay close to her family, so we came over here and all that, and we just decided to try it out and see how it goes. So here is really where I discovered the whole generative AI thing,
Oh,
especially with video, because for me, when I started to see like a bunch of AI videos on my social media, specifically, there's this guy named Remy Moletti, I believe his name is, and he was doing some really, really cool stuff with like video to video. Like, and this was like about 2 years ago. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh shoot, how is he doing that? Like, I want to learn how to do that." Um, just because I've always just been interested in just creating interesting visuals, and so I was looking through his comments and trying to search that for the answer, and he said something about disco diffusion, and I was like, okay, what's disco diffusion? So I googled disco diffusion. It wasn't like such a straightforward answer that I found, so I was just like searching as much as I could until I finally found something that kind of led me to finally generate my first AI video. Um, and once I did that, I was doing some very generic stuff. But at some point, I started to just like, okay, how can I use my all the stuff that I've learned so far with video and apply that knowledge and use that with AI? And that's kind of what led me to the path of you know trying to come up with creative ways of using AI and generative AI.
oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy though. Now you answered my like next couple questions
Oh,
because
I'm
that's a
sorry. I just kind
no,
of
no,
rambled
that's
on.
fine. No, thank you. That's perfect because it tells a lot and it's something, it's crazy because I guess a lot of this stuff hasn't been around that long.
Right.
But you would take like from different backgrounds and how did you because you had your experience with the digital audio design, the sound design, and
Mhm.
with video, did that make it easier to start, doing working more with video, or because you had already been using it a lot as a kid, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I would say that what school really prepared me for, and it's funny because once I was done with school, I was like, that wasn't worth it. Like the money I spent on it. But what I did get out of it, um, not to say that education is total waste of time, but at the time I just felt like I don't know if I really needed that. But what it really did help me with is like during the time I was in that school, um, we were assigned like projects, a lot of projects that were like, okay, you have come up with a concept. Uh, you have to plan this out. You have to work with other animators so you can create the sound design for this whatever we're working on, like this ad or whatever, just kind of like not like a real ad, but just for the sake of like learning. And uh and so we had to communicate with all these people and with other animators and try to get the timing right and all these things, and a lot of back and forth. So I learned how to just like yeah, like plan and um yeah, come up with concepts and ideas. And yeah, and also audio, a lot of the sound design, we actually learned a lot about video, because you need to understand like frames per second and a lot of terms that a lot of people who are in that field of video know. And we had to learn that too, because like sound design or even music composition with like movies or like shows and stuff, a lot of those things kind of intersect, and they kind of are related in some ways. And it's also very important for the audio person to understand a lot of those things. So yeah, it definitely helped lead me to that direction. But before that, I was already kind of interested in video. I just it was one of those things that was there, but I just didn't fully uncover it, and just it took me just kind of like really thinking about, okay, what is it that I want to do in my life. um and that was the thing that I just tried out, and it really really um yeah, once I discovered that, I was like, okay, this is it. I love to just create content, fun content, have an idea and just make it a reality kind of thing.
Well, how do you when you come up with ideas, how do you like the different things? I like a lot of the stuff. It's all like you do a lot of throwback stuff that
Oh
makes
yeah.
me, it's so cool. Even with like the Scooby Doo characters on the
Mhm.
frame, in front of things like that. Like, what do you have? Do you just get inspired one day and think of something that, hey, I want to do that would be really cool. Like, do you have any like
Yeah, like
running list?
no, well, not sometimes I do have like ideas, and I just put them in my phone, and so I can remember them later. um but I think I try to dig deep into my own experience, because sometimes I like when I try to think of like, okay, what is something that no one else is doing right now, because like there's the saying that there's nothing new under the sun, right? There's like everybody's done almost everything, but like I, I try to think of, okay, but not everyone has experienced my childhood. I mean, exactly my child, or like maybe there are similar experiences, because we all, we're humans, and we there's a lot of things that we share when it comes to just experiences and stuff. But there are just some things that are very unique to me that someone else has not experienced, and so I try to dig into those things so that I can, yeah, just find ways like to come up with ideas that maybe someone else, it's not super obvious to someone else. But um yeah, so like I really try to dig into the things that are a lot of stuff that I remember as a kid, or just like experiences that I've had, or things that I was into, and yeah, I try to implement that into some kind of concept for me to do with AI. And yeah, I think that's what I realized too is like I realize now that I'm playing with like when I want to think of ideas, I have to kind of revert to the way I thought when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I was the kind of kid who put on headphones and just, as my mom was driving me somewhere, I would just like daydream, and just as I'm hearing music, I would just imagine all these stories in my mind, and just like imagine me as a superhero and all those things. And as you get older, you start to suppress those things, because it's like,
Hmm.
okay, those are like childish things. But now,
Yeah.
like, now that I'm going back to like, I want to be creative. I almost feel like this really good feeling about like, wow, I get to really really use that kind of imagination I has as a kid, and use it for something good, something that can help even me like now in my career. So like I don't have to let go of that. I can actually embrace that that kid and that kid imagination that I had. um and yeah, it's something that I really 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 love about what I do right now, is just like going back to like, okay, try to remember how it was when you were a kid. How did you used to think, and how, like, start daydreaming again, and there's nothing wrong with that, because as a kid it's almost like it's almost seen as a bad thing. Like when I was in classroom, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, when I was in a classroom, I was just daydreaming. I was just like I was drawing on a piece of paper, and like I didn't get good grades. um and some people may say, well, because you're a bad student, whatever, but to me it's just my mind worked differently than, like, and I think a lot of creative people have this issue too. They just struggle in like paying attention and stuff. So um those things that were considered like a weakness before, I just consider it like a strength now, and I'm like, okay, I love that I can embrace that side of yeah, of me.
No, that's a beautiful way to think about it because, yeah, we
Hmm.
do stop thinking like that and just the freedom of a child and just your
Hmm.
the imagination and creativity. And like, um, I what I love about generative AI is like, and before that, I learned how to code. I'm a pharmacist. I did healthcare for years, but I was creative. I just went into that kind of field, and I didn't get to do anything like that. But when
Right.
I started learn how to code, it was like, wow, I made that hello world,
Hmm.
And then doing this type of thing, it's like I love it. I could do it all day, 24
Right.
hours a day, and I get excited about. Do you feel that way too? Like when you're like, what am I going to do today? Or do you feel kind of
Yeah.
more satisfied or like you're doing what you want to do?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I feel a lot of satisfaction doing what I do right now. To me, I rather do this than any other job. Like I've worked so many different jobs in my life, and I know what it is. I know what it is to just like work a day shift, a graveyard shift. I know what it is to study and go to work, and I like all these things that I just jobs that I hated with like a passion. I was like, I never want to go back to that. Like, I get so much more fulfillment out of doing stuff like this because, again, like it's almost like um, it's not even work, you know. Um, yeah, sometimes like my wife like sees me like on my computer like in the middle of the night, and she's just like, "You're still working?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah," but
just small.
like, and I try to tell her like, for me, it's not work. It's just like it's fun. Even though I'm here, like technically it is work, but it's it's fun for me and I enjoy it. Yeah, yeah, I definitely have that.
No, it's a great feeling. Well, I want to ask you, do you have like a particular tool stack or your go-to like things that you're using all the time? When you like, what are you using? I know that you're a great teacher by the way, your tutorials, the way you break things down, and even just like walking people through your workflow is
Hmm.
wonderful. But you teach a lot, tutorials on Comfy UI and
Hmm.
automatic 1111. Like, what's your base stack?
Definitely Comfy. Like I fell in love with Comfy once I learned it. It's just so versatile. There's just so much things you can do with it. Um, I know it's intimidating for some people, and I totally get that. Like for like a long time, I tried to avoid it. I was like sticking to automatic 1111 for a long time, and then yeah, once I learned Comfy, it's just like yeah, it just clicked for me. So definitely Comfy UI is a big thing that I use. Um, recently been using a lot of Viggle because I think right now that's the easiest way to really transform like a subject into something else, to another subject. And for me, that one has been one that I've been using a lot lately. So the combination of Comfy and Viggle have been something that I've been using um, pretty frequently. But then also like right now, using just experimenting with Luma Labs, and Runway's Dream Machine, just playing around with those things. Those also have caught my interest, so I've been playing around with that a little bit more too. But yeah, those are my main go to. Like the thing about like doing the whole YouTube thing is like sometimes I have to learn all these other things that I wouldn't normally want to learn, but I learn them because I know there's people that are interested in them. So I try to at least learn the basics of it and try to break it down and stuff. But I also have been kind of not doing as many videos before because of the fact that like it because I have to do stuff like that. I have to spread my attention to different topics and stuff. And sometimes for me, I rather just be creative with something instead of having to do a bunch of research on a topic that I might not be too interested in, but I know my audience is, so I do it. But then I'm like, but how much satisfaction do I get out of it? And it's I had to find that balance between like what is work, because work will even if you enjoy it, work is work. So I try to find the balance between what is work and what is something that I also enjoy. Because if it just becomes just work and I don't enjoy it, then I won't be happy doing that for very long. So yeah, so that's why lately I've been really focusing on the content stuff on like on social media and stuff. But YouTube is something I still have a love for, so it's not something I'm just gonna completely abandon either. But yeah, it has slowed down though.
You have a lot, yeah. Your YouTube history goes back like 8 years, I think. I mean, it's pretty. So you do have an extensive library of things going back. And what do you think about to someone like I'll say me even, but like
Hmm.
say you want to get started. I still haven't really learned how to use Comfy.
Hmm.
I didn't install automatic 1111, and I have experience with lots of image models and video models and things like that, but not with
Hmm.
like Blender and even Photoshop, honestly, or After Effects. I don't have that. What would you say, like, where I want to get a machine that can handle that, right?
Hmm.
And what would you say to somebody like, what's the first, what should I do, like, to get more experience so that I can do more to be able to use Comfy and the versatility with it to do create even more i- imaginary, create better content in general. I
Mm.
feel like I'm kind of stifled because I'm still stuck to using platforms and maybe using Comfy in the browser, which is not
Hmm.
as much as setting up my own workflow or learning how to understand it so that I can speak the language and see what it does. I like to teach people how to do it too, but I do
Hmm.
like to create like you. And I want to just
Hmm.
be able to do some of the things that I can't do with these
Right.
tools now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just really depends on like because I think there's people with different scenarios. There are people who want to do this to get paid and they want to get work with it, so it's worth investing into like a computer in that case. Um, that's what I did. I spent like I mean quite a bit of money on my computer because I knew that I wanted to use it to make money with it. So it made sense for me to make that investment. Um, but somebody who's just like wants to do it just casually and for fun, then I would try to do like I know there's a bunch of services out there that allow you to use, for example, something like Comfy UI, and they already have workflow set up and everything, and you don't have to really know as much as if when you had to do it yourself on your like locally. But yeah, I would try to get like learn those services. You pay like a certain amount of money to use like the remote GPU type of thing where they rent like GPU um to you. So I would I would try that and just see how what you could come up with, and then if I think you kind of get an idea of like, hey, I'm into this or I'm not that into this, and then make a decision based off of that. Like you keep spending on those credits or try to save up and buy like yeah a computer that can handle that kind of work. And when it comes to other tools, uh, it's kind of I think it's kind of hard to say because like for example, if you want to learn After Effects, it's kind of hard because it's pretty expensive to use After Effects. To use like anything Adobe, it's like the
Yeah.
subscription thing is just I know not everyone can do it, and it's really expensive unless you're doing it for work. It's hard to justify paying paying what you have to pay for that. Um, I don't know if they have trials or anything, but I don't think so. Um, but
Probably
yeah, it's
can't
kind of
do
hard to
too
say
much with it.
to get into that unless you're like yeah, unless you plan on just really pursuing doing stuff with it and making money off of it to make it pay off. Yeah, yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure about that one.
do you
Mhm.
see these tools like reaching a plateau where there will be they're improving so much like in the quality and the ease of use might get to the point where people may not even have to invest as much or in use in their own machine where platforms are starting to incorporate Comfy. workflows and
Mm,
come in different, a live portrait and things
mm.
that they can, the lip syncing, sound effects generation, where people might be able to, you might have to pick a platform that you're going to use, but it might make it so that it just more people get access? Or do you think, like, compared to open source, or being able to use your own stuff, do you think it matters as much? Does it matter to you? I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of, um, I see sometimes online where it seems kind of like where people, they look down on if you're using the brands versus running it on your own. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, well, I'm sorry, I'm trying to use this, and like, yeah, I use Midjourney. I mean, I pay enough for it, so I'm going to make sure I can do and make any type of image in there. But
Yeah,
also with Stable Diffusion, and now Flux, just, it's just scary how, good the things are getting in the video quality. It's
yeah,
just amazing, the things that we're seeing in such a short amount of time. Do you have,
right.
a problem using, like you said, you're using Luma and Runway, but, I guess there is not really an equivalent to that, right? That you can just run on your own.
Yeah, I think
Is
that's the biggest thing. I think at some point, some of the things that it takes to generate these, at least, I mean, I'm not gonna act like I know what it takes to generate what Luma um, and Runway videos, take to run. But from my understanding and what I've heard, just people that I know talk about, is like, it's you need sometimes those services because they have enough of the hardware, like the power to do those things, and you can't really have that power to do it on your computer, like locally. So that's why, as this keeps advancing, unless the computers become just more powerful, like for home use, and also not too crazy expensive, because that's another thing, like the cost of buying a computer, like, um and just getting the more powerful GPUs and just whatever parts you need for the PC to just handle this kind of things. That's going to just make things a little bit less accessible, to just like an average person who just wants to play around with these tools. So those services are useful for those kind of people that want to just pay a monthly subscription of like $20 or $15 or whatever the amount it is, and just use those tools that way. Um, but yeah, like, it's funny because I've spoken about this before with other people. Is like, I sometimes feel guilty, because there's two different crowds, right? There's like the crowd that's just like open source, like they don't want to use anything that has to uh, that they have to pay for, and then there's the people who are just like open to whatever, and then um, also the like, for example, like I use a lot of what they call like traditional tools, like After Effects and Blender and all these things. um and I was telling somebody, like, sometimes, like when it comes to the AI community, I feel like when I'm using those tools, I feel like I'm cheating, because a lot of those people, a lot of these people believe, like, or really value using AI for every step of their process. It's almost like how much can you do without having to touch like an editing software, or without having to touch any of these things that you have to pay for. um and I'm kind of stuck in the middle, because there are people who do feel like, okay, well, you're not really doing AI, you're using all these other tools too. And then, but then also the other side is like, well, you're cheating because you're using AI. And so, like,
yeah,
one is because you're not using enough AI, and one is because you're using AI just period. So it's just, sometimes I'm stuck in the middle, because I'm the kind of person who's just like, I don't care if I have to pay for something, as long as it's the best thing out there, and if I find use for it, okay, then I pay, as long as it's reasonable priced, right? It's not some crazy amount. But as long as it's reasonably priced, if I need that tool, and I want to create something with that, like, I'll pay for it. I don't care. Like, if it's open source, great. If it's not, then I'll pay for it, as long as it's something that I really want to use, right? So I don't really look at it as in like oh, that's bad, and that's good. I just like, hey, I see everything as a tool, whether I have to pay for it or not. Um, as long as it's useful and I can create with it, right?
I like that idea. I kind of agree with you there. And it gets tiring to explain yourself all the time. But I
Mm,
guess eventually, yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that eventually that the people who will not touch AI are probably already using it. And maybe they don't realize it or don't want to accept it. And
mhm,
maybe it'll get kind of die down a little bit. But I mean, understand people's concerns about it taking away, you know, their jobs.
mm.
And like with VFX and motion graphics, how do you feel? Like, is it difficult um, ethically, or just how do you feel with when people say this type of stuff is going to take jobs away from us?
Mm.
Or do you think it can integrate within the motion graphics and um, VFX?
I think it could integrate. I'm always hopeful that that AI will always need direction. I mean, I don't know how we don't know how AI is going to evolve, with time. But I stay hopeful that I will always need like a brain, like a human brain, to guide it, at least to give it, to give it the idea and the direction that you want to take it. Um, that's what I hope. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we really don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. We don't know how much AI is going to advance. Like, to me, it's like, I can't, like, a lot of people even believe this, like, that I don't think AI can fully do everything for us. Like, it will always take a human to do it, to be part of it, the process, depending on, obviously, on what you're trying to accomplish too. But yeah, like, but the thing is, like, just like a year and a half ago, we had a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti that just looked horrendous, and now we have video that looks like it's really him, So
Yeah.
it's just, it's just moving so fast, and it's just so much attention and money is going into it that, yeah, it's hard for me to really guess, like, how far it's gonna go. But I would like to be optimistic and say that traditional VFX and AI can work together and accomplish things that VFX wouldn't be able to accomplish without AI. That's what I would hope for. And
Well,
what I
how do you think people that are in the field could use AI or these tools to help them in with their workflow or for uh, ideas?
I would I don't know, because the thing is, like, for example, like something like Luma Labs and Runway's Dream Machine, like, you know how janky that can look at times, right? Like, it's not perfect, so it's kind of hard to say, like, hey, use this. But I think it's um worth it for them to, at least in my opinion. I think they should really just start learning AI tools, so that when the time comes, like, when it is useful, or maybe they can find a use for it now, um uh they can use it. So I would say that it would be good for them to start learning, and I think a lot of people are a lot of VFX people have actually I've talked to and have called me and just wanted to get on a call just to talk to me and hear just kind of my opinion on things. Um and they've told me, yeah, like, I was actually anti AI not too long ago, but now it's just like, hey, if I want my VFX studio to survive, I feel like now I have to learn. I should learn this, and so they're taking steps to try to figure out what's possible with AI. So I think that's the important thing, even if it's not useful at the moment, but just learning it so that you're like you're up to date to what's out there, so that when the thing that you really do need is just it becomes available, that you're like on it and you're like, okay, I know how this works. I know how I'm gonna figure this out, and not be like left behind. But yeah,
No, it's
I
good
forget.
advice, and I think that yeah, I hope that it doesn't have to be this or that, or
Mhm.
doesn't have to be where you're anti completely, or it
Yeah.
just becomes a part of our a lot of different workflows and learning how to. I think of people. I'm obsessed with prompting and how to
Mm,
speak to the AI. And I see there where if I knew a lot of, if I was a director or in cinema or in motion graphics or VFX, like knowing like what is that sound supposed to be make, and so that I can tell the AI or speak to collaborate with it to
hmm
kind of maybe it's something I haven't heard and I want to hear like a different type of thing or see a different type of movement, but just learning like even just the language that you would use to
Right.
direct it and that it will understand. I hope
Yeah.
that people kind of consider that even, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I will go to this or that now, if that's
All
okay.
right.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you 10 questions. There are two options, and just pick one or the other and just learn a little bit more about you. So,
Okay.
first one is, are you a morning person or night owl?
Definitely night owl. Definitely.
Beach or mountains?
Uh, beach, I would say.
Do you prefer cooking or baking?
Cooking for sure.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Sci-fi.
Hot coffee or iced?
Ice.
Okay. Jeans or sweatpants?
Oh man. Uh, I would say sweatpants. They're more comfortable.
It's always a question that's people like, man, I don't know. But concert or theater?
Theater.
City or countryside?
Countryside.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza for sure.
Okay. Netflix or YouTube?
If I had to choose, I would say YouTube.
Spend more time with it. Okay. Well, thank you for your honesty, and we learned a little something about you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you coming today and, just talking to me a little bit, and I hope you come back.
Yeah,
What are you
definitely.
working on right now? Like any projects or anything like that you're working on? Anything coming up?
Not at the moment. I just literally finished a video that I just posted on X and on my Instagram. So it's like a little toy Mexican wrestler that's kind of walking on top of a little ball. Like you have to see it. Like it's kind of hard to
Oh,
explain, but
I
yeah,
just saw the pasta, the
yeah. That
meatballs.
was a few days ago. Something I did with collaborating with another AI person that goes by J Books. But there's another one that I did. I just put it out today, so that's pretty much it right now. So tomorrow will be another concept that I'll probably start working on. But for
That's
now,
the best part
that's about
about
it.
this. So where can people find you? You're on YouTube,
Yeah,
your Instagram,
yeah,
X, LinkedIn,
yeah.
or well, TikTok.
YouTube at enigmatic underscore E. Same for Instagram, enigmatic at enigmatic underscore E. And on X, 8-bit underscore E. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I do have a TikTok, but it's not popping.
TikTok's rough. It's a rough to
Yeah,
get break
it's
in there.
you have
Like,
to create a certain kind of a certain kind of content for TikTok, and it's not the content that I make. It's not really meant for that. But I post on there anyway, but it's not really. Yeah, it's not much interaction there.
I'm gonna keep at it a little bit, but yeah, I might give up eventually with TikTok. Although I hate to give up, so I'll probably still keep plugging away with putting some different things on there. But
Yeah,
thank you so much, and I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. And please come back again. Take care.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.